Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Ginaldo. I'm going to report Chapter 2 Warranty Management Meaning and its Components. In other words, it is warranty for the product given by the manufacturer. In case of any poor performance due to the non-performance or any defect of the product will be made good by the supplier or manufacturer, either replacement of the product or repair of the product. For example, nipalit ka atong pa kay nga electric fan. Pero pag abot ninyo sa inyong balay, dili gyud siya mo andar. So unsa man ang imong buhaton? Syempre ibalik ninyo siya sa gaisano ug ang ireklamo didto ug ang tagigisano na bahala ato ilang ayuhon ba to nga electric fan or ilisan na lang to siya glain nga electric fan. And that was one of the example of warranty management. So let's proceed to the topic that I have. Subtopic A, documentation and control mechanisms of supply chain logistics. So nganong naaman ang documentation o unsa man ni ka-importante? Syempre, i-document yun na every item you have because para mahibaw-an ang pagproseso ni ini kung kawang ba or sakto ba or okay ra ba ang mga materials nga ilang gipanggamit. A logistical exercise originates at the buyer's end and involve multiple agencies including buyer, seller, 3PL freight forwarder, transporter at various juncture, shipping lines, airlines, various government agencies, customs department at various location and financial institutions like banks to complete entire supply chain cycle. So, ang logistics kuno ning originate siya sa buyer's end. For example, ako ang buyer's end. Sa logistical na siya mga factors dito nga mauni ang mga agencies nga gipangtawag ang buyer, seller, freight forwarder, airlines, mga shipping lines. So, maong na ay supply kay naa may buyer. Unsaon ang imong mga paninda, imong mga baligya ug way mamalit? For example, naninda ka dito tumoy sa bukid. Unsa ang mong bation ug way na malit sa imong mga baligya? Di ba makaingon ta may pagwa na lang tananinda kay useless raman gihapon ug walay buyer? 3PL or third party logistics, it is an organization used for third party businesses to source elements of its distribution, warehousing, and fulfillment services. So, when you say logistics, it focuses on delivery. Ga-focus ni siya sa mga pag-deliver. Smooth flowing of materials in a journey originating at one point and going through the entire cycle of exports and imports to each point of consumption would mean engagement and interaction with all of the above agencies who have a stake in the said transaction. Need for decision-making concerning financials. Dili ka makayano-yano himo og produkto o kabalo ra ka nga di mo lambo o kaba nga di mahalin. Commercial, technical, operational matters about shipments arise at various times in the cycle, which demands 3PL, the logistics carrier, the buyer, the supplier is actively engaged and have visibility to information and documentation for the smooth flows across various transit points. Ang supplier kuno dapat hatag siyag full details or documentation para sa nimpalit sa iyang mga produkto para sa paghapsay ug limpyo ang pag-deliver. In fact, the logistics operations, the documentation and information flow should precede physical movements of goods. Documentation becomes important not only for the physical logistics operations involving multiple agencies engaged in the entire chain, the financial, trading, and accounting processes of the both buyer and seller organization and partner banks also involves depend upon the entire set of documentation pertaining to each transactions to be able to recognize the sale, recognize the value of consignment, and effect necessary payment. Accounting practices of the organization require data documentation as per bookkeeping practices and norms. Finally, goods and services are recognized and identified at every stage only in the set of authenticated documentation showing ownership based on which the customs allows them to be exported or imported into or out of country. There are many more aspects like terms of carriage by the carrier coupled with insurance liabilities and coverage that call for set of documentation covering specific aspects of transaction. Therefore, the entire supply chain transaction involves set of standardized documentation from buyer and seller, from TPL carrier and documentation as required by customs at exporting countries and importing country coupled by trading or bank requirements documents. The entire set of documents and the terms of trade have been developed and standardized across all countries to facilitate international trade. Incoterms or international commercial terms are a series of predefined commercial terms published by the International Chamber of Commerce relating to international commercial law. Today, software applications have built-in standardized documentation templates and modules and their offerings that reduce the amount of time and effort involved in preparing requirements. ERP modules contain the documentation formats as an integral part of its integral processes. 3PL logistics providers work with various software applications that have shipping documentation built into its operational processes and offer track and trace with documentation visibility to customers on the web. Filling documents with customs has been EDI enabled. Electronic documentation has become part of operations amongst all agencies. However, at customs and banking counters, original documents are required to be produced as negotiating and valid legal documents for shipments to be cleared though. A supply chain manager needs to be aware of the complete set of documentation requirements along with the various aspects to be able to design and documentation control mechanisms. Errors in documentation will lead to financial damage, delays in delivery, and performance that is what manager aims to avoid. So, diri dyan makita kung unsa ka importante ang pagdocument. Kay kung sayop gani sa pagdocument, mo ni siya nga ma-delay ang mga delivers ug ang imong performance bati pagyud. So mao na siya ang mga managers nga ilang